Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle. And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with Danny 5 on deck. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm going to say something kind of Nelson-y, I guess.
Uh-oh. You really like this chapter.
No, I guess, yeah, that's what it comes down to. It was pretty good. I thought it was a change of pace from things that we've been dealing with a little bit, right? So it made it
pretty entertaining.
Yeah, made it a little better in my opinion.
Danny's the GOAT.
Nelson, what do you think?
I love this chapter. I mean, you guys know Belwas is my boy. A lot of why I love Belwas is like this chapter, right? And I think in the past he said like, I always let men cut me. And it's like, is that really, or did you just like get cut by accident? Here it seems like that's true. Like he literally just keeps his frag count on scars on his belly. Like, I don't know. He just kind of,
it's a good fail safe.
He just gets the job done and he doesn't care. Like he's not invited to the councils, doesn't care. He's just like, food. You want me to kill somebody? All right, I will kill him. And he does it like gladiator style, right? Like it's like win the crowd. It gives me a lot of gladiator vibes, which is a great movie.
He definitely is a showboat a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I think he has a right to be somewhat.
Once you're in that, realm, that mindset, you're a showboater till you get killed.
Yeah, that is kind of the end, right?
All right, so should I bring us into where we start?
Yeah.
We start at the walls of Marine. Marine, just quick little deal, is the biggest city yet, as big as the last two combined. The other two were just kind of solid colors, either yellow or red. And Marine is rainbow bricked, which is kind of weird, but
I did think about that. I was thinking it's probably like each pyramid is a different color, not like they just chose.
I kind of thought it was like speckled with colors.
Yeah,
I was wondering.
I read it too.
I was wondering, but I was thinking what you're thinking. That would look really ugly. So I was thinking it might look cooler if like, oh, there's the blue pyramid, and then there's the red pyramid, and there's the yellow pyramid.
Yeah, maybe. It's a good thought.
Google pictures of Marine. What did you see?
Yeah.
I was looking up fan art. I was looking up trying to see if there was any like really like epic fan art, like Elden Ring style set pieces of like Belwas outside Marine with like the hero, but there wasn't. There's like some cartoony versions of Belwas, which makes sense. He's kind of like a cartoony character by his description, but I was looking for like an epic fan art and there's nothing. So if you're an artist and you listen to the podcast, get on that. That's what we want. We want an epic Elden Ring-esque landscape.
Do we need to hire our artist back?
Well, we do. I have the artist, but we only ever get art for POV characters.
He's been out of commission for a while, huh?
Yeah, I tell him like, hey, it's normally when there's new books coming out that we need something.
Yeah. All right.
But I've considered getting a Belwas art, even though he doesn't get any POVs.
Just get that put on your wall. Just print it out and put it on your wall. All right. So Marine has sent out a champion, and he's kind of running around, hyping the crowd up, and not much movement from Danny's side. And they kind of talk about who should be the champion. Who are they even going to send somebody out? What's going on?
It's not worth it, right? Is really what it comes down to for Danny's army for the most part, to send anybody of value to fight this guy. But that's like the only people that probably can fight this guy, right?
Well, yeah. Well, some people want to fight him.
Yeah, but it's not worth it to send any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Blood Riders are fighting over it. They want to go, and she's like, "You can't. Like, you're my Khalasar. Without you guys, they're gonna leave me." Which I don't know. Come on, she's the Khaleesi. Like you should be head.
I mean,
girl.
those definitely are like the best things she has, though, right?
For
like,
sure, her most loyal, I'd say. Like
yes, for sure.
For like just loving
ride
her.
or die is literally like their whole thing, right?
Yeah,
like if Danny dies, we have to kill ourselves. So they're 100% ride or die.
Yeah,
but yeah, like she has two arguments for like why she doesn't want him. Like one is just like they're too good at fighters. I don't want to risk them. The other one is they command men, which you kind of touched on this, Jeff, for like the Khalasar. They command men that I don't know if I'd be able to command without. Right, so I agree that might not be as true for the Blood Riders. I think you're right that she could probably keep most of the Khalasar, even if one or multiple of them died. But like Dario, she doesn't want to have go out because then like he's the leader of a sellsword company.
Stormcrow. Yeah.
And
he was from the last city. Is that where he came from?
Exactly. The last Danny chapter, we might want to go over it real quick, right?
Well, there were the three sellsword guys, right?
Yep.
I think it was 2 sellsword guys, and then the group
and
from
the city.
The actual slavers from the city. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And they all came out, and she's like, pretty much, lay down your arms, whatever. And then this guy like winked at her before he left, right? And then he came back. They all said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to surrender. And then this guy winked at her. They left, and then the next day came back with his head. The other two heads.
The other two heads. So that was one sellsword company, though. That was like, so that's the Storm Crows. Okay. They were like ruled by committee by these 3 leaders. That's what Danny's saying is now there's one leader, but 2/3 of this army, like 2/3 of that sellsword, the actual people
behind the other guys,
were probably loyal to those guys. So like it's very tenuous that they're even here now. If Dario dies, they're very loosely connected to me. And then the other one that's important is Miro, who the guy that Arston fights at the end here. He was the leader of the other sellsword company, which is like they never actually mentioned it at the end of last chapter. It's only mentioned in passing here. Danny later yells at Jorah, like, "You should have told me he escaped." Right? I don't think we heard that, like, because we had Danny's POV. So they come back and they're like, "Hey, we won the battle. Like the sellsword company's fled or whatever." Basically, Danny said, "Okay, if anybody is left, have them vote." She doesn't say this. We learned this here. Have them vote amongst themselves and give a new guy. So we get a new character this chapter, Brown Ben Plum. He is like the new Miro, right? So the guy that Barristan fights with at the end, that guy's place was taken by Brown Ben Plum. But Danny did manage to capture both of those sellsword groups. Yep.
All right. So that leaves us here where Dario is the Stormcrow leader, and she's like, well, can't lose him. He's got all those men behind him. And Jorah just like was against it, right? Like, if I kill this person, they're just going to close the walls, and it doesn't matter anyway. Like, we gain nothing. And Arston is like, well, come on, they're pretty hype right now. Like, the champion is, like, stirring them up. He's giving them, like, some hope, right? And
yeah, he's like, Arston's view is, like, it's affecting morale, right? Like, you're right that we're not going to win any big things here, but it makes us look really bad that we're not willing to accept the challenge.
Yeah, he's just talking shit. He's peeing on them.
Yeah.
Like,
and then all the people on the wall are pissing, too.
Yeah.
I always forgot. I guess until this reread, I never remembered that detail.
Sometimes you just got to pee. But Danny's like, all right, shut up, you 2 old men. Like, let me think.
One thing that I thought was funny, one of the quotes that Arston uses is, "A man who fears battle wins no victory."
That's true.
This is, you miss every shot you don't take. Wayne Gretzky,
pretty much.
Michael Scott, Arston Whitebeard.
But he paraphrased. He paraphrased a couple times, like some Varsayings into Game of Thronesy. I have the other one written down. All right, she's like, all right, stop bickering, you two. And she thinks about all the mouths she has to feed. Like, they're at a crossroads, right? Like, people are going to die from starvation if they don't take this city, which is full of everything that they need, and they left nothing in her way to get to the city.
It's the only option. Yeah, she has no other choice but to take this city, right?
Or bail on those people. Bail on the hungry mouse.
Yeah, but that's not an option to her.
Well, it's funny because she was in this boat last chapter too. There's a part where she mentions like, "Oh, the Unsullied camp is really orderly, but all the slaves that came with me, or freedmen, right? She calls them the freedmen. Basically, when she says freedmen, that means people who were slaves before I showed up."
Yep.
Yes, I think that's inferred in the name.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, just making sure. She mentions like, "Oh, the Dothraki camp and the Unsullied camp are like pretty orderly," but then there's just like a ton of people. Like, what am I supposed to do with all these people? And even Jorah was like, yeah, that's a problem. Like, this was happening last chapter. Now they took another city, so they probably like doubled the amount of freedmen they have, right? So they're just like, and they're not. They probably took some food from Yunkai, but like, it seems like they're almost making their problem worse by building this host.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're just grabbing more people on the way, which is not good. Yeah. So what else did they? So the leaders of Marine burned the fields and poisoned the wells. What's the worst thing that they did on their way?
Babies or children, maybe not babies, but yeah, they're like crucifying, like nailing up these children, pointing the way every mile marker.
Slave children.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like it's taunting Danny, essentially.
Yep. 163.
Come get us. And that just pisses Danny off.
Yep. So this is where we can show the map here. So this is where we've been. We've gone from Astapor to Yunkai. Now we're at Marine, right? So she says that there's like a river to the north. There's the sea to the west. And then their camp is along the sea. So they've been walking along this road from Yunkai. I guess you assume that they can't have children like basically right outside the gates of Yunkai. So maybe like halfway through. But yeah, the 163 kids nailed up along this road. And now they're camped up along the sea right here.
Started 163 miles out is what I was going to say. Because it was a mile marker, they said.
Yep, exactly. And the river's called the Skahaza Dam. They say that a few times and it's a weird word. So, yep. Map time?
Yeah,
done.
Nice work. Great map time. So this is where we get our first Brown Ben Plum report, and he kind of talks about the champion that is Osnak Zopul.
Yep. He's wearing pink and white, so it seems like they got like that's like this cat's colors. Striped pink and white horse, on his cloak. And Brown Ben like kind of knows this guy. This guy's uncle is the richest man in Marine. His father's the captain of the guards. And he once killed a man that I guess Brown Ben knew and it seems like was friendly with, named Scarb, and he claimed he killed him because he raped a woman with his eyes.
Cut out his liver.
You cut out his liver?
I thought that's what it said.
That's what it says, yeah. But I mean, I'm sure he's dead.
Oh, he gone.
Yeah.
That guy dead.
And Brown Ben says, like, I had to run for my life afterwards, which is weird because it doesn't quite say why.
Well, yeah, he escaped out of the sewer.
He explains he had to go to the sewer.
He was afraid that he was going to have to, he doesn't explain it yet, but he was afraid that he was going to rape somebody with their eyes.
He was just going to get accused of something like that out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
He was like, what? This place is crazy.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't think it was ever spelled out, but that's what I was guessing too.
I had to run like a rat before he killed me too.
Well, because he thinks like, how do you rape somebody with your eyes? But if he said that to the guy and the guy got pissed and he's like, oh, I better get out of here. Right. I didn't know if it was that or he was just like, you know what, this place is crazy. I'm getting the fuck out. I don't think it really matters.
Yep.
One thing I have about Brown Ben, it's from a little bit later, but I just pulled it up to this part. He claims he's the veteran of 100 battles, but he doesn't claim that he fought bravely in all of them. He like admits like basically I ran from some of them.
Sometimes you have to run to. So what's the? He
has a line like there are old cell swords and there are bold cell swords, but there are no old bold cell swords, which I think is like
old bold cell swords. Yeah.
It's just interesting that he's pretty like open.
What's
with it.
The
like,
Jack Sparrow line? We must fight to run away.
To run away. Yeah, kind of. That's pretty much the Brown Ben technique. Yeah.
I mean, he's got a point though, right? Like sometimes you just got to know when it's over with.
In the words of Kenny Rogers,
yeah,
you got to know when to fold them.
There you go. It's also one of the things like sometimes you just respect someone who's honest, right? Like a lot of cell swords would be like, "Oh no, I'll never run. I'd never run. I'd always stand right." Like
they bolt right away. Screw those guys.
Yeah.
So they're all peeing in their direction, and she's like, "All right, get the eunuch,
get Belwas,
get Belwas."
Oh, it's just a hype moment when she's like, "I have need of him." Oh man, I was fired up just reading this whole part.
And what's Belwas doing?
He's eating a sausage. He's just chilling in the shade, eating a sausage. He doesn't care about this champion riding around. Everyone's cheering and looking. Yeah. He's not paying any attention. He's just eating a sausage. Yeah.
Chomping. Yeah.
Chomping away. Eats it in a couple bites.
Yep. He's like, get me my sword and shit. Like, he's like, get liver and onions ready for afterwards. Not now. I'm always hungry after that. Yeah. And even Ricaro, like the Blood Riders are like, what are you doing? Like, why are you sending this idiot?
Like, why this guy? Why this guy, Kyle?
He's got a history, right? Like this was his job, his life was fighting in the pits, and we touched on it earlier. With once a showboat, always a showboat. He's definitely made a career of flashy one-on-one fights. So why not send him?
It's kind of like a lose-lose.
Yeah, can you imagine if a slave beats the champion?
Oh well, yeah, that too, exactly. Yeah,
lose-lose for them, win-win for win-win-win.
Yeah, either he beats a slave and like whatever, or it's not that impressive, or the slave beats him and then that kills their morale even more.
All right, so the battle begins. Should we quickly go through this battle? Not a whole lot.
Yeah, why not?
It's not a whole lot, right?
I don't have quotes. The one quote I have
defends himself for a little while.
I think the very beginning's cool, where like Belwas goes out, he's just standing there, the other guy's on the horse, and it starts with, a chivalrous man would dismount, says Arston. Oznak Nopal lowered his lance and charged. So it's like, this guy's, I mean, we know he's not chivalrous. He just pissed in everyone.
All right, so he's charging. It's basically, what's it called? What's that thing called that they do? What's the tournament? Joust. The guy's jousting Belwas, and he misses a couple times. Belwas is ducking and evading. He
makes him miss, right?
Yeah, he's evading at the end. And then the fourth time, when the guy's like, "Ooh, I'm going to be smart and move," Belwas moves too, chops down the horse, goes up. They fight for a little bit. He gets his cut in. Bam! Yep. Splits his head with an arak, and then chops off his head and rolls it over to the wall.
Just that easy.
And then shits at him.
Well, they might shoot him with arrows. Try to shoot him with arrows.
It's right.
Yeah,
right out of range.
They miss with a whole bunch of crossbows.
Yeah. Yep. So he turns, shits in their direction, wipes his ass with the guy's, I don't know, his robe or whatever.
His colors.
Yep, his cloak.
Yeah.
Then he heads on back to the gang.
Yeah, everyone's
Gang's
fired
up.
Brown Ben gives him a plum. Everyone's giving him a pat on the back. He eats the plum in 4 bites and then yells, "I want my liver and onions." And Danny is making sure that he gets his cut taken care of because She saw this with Drogo.
She ain't losing another guy like that to a little cut.
He's like, man, this happened to me all the time. Like, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. She's like, seen this. Like, you did good. I can't have you die in front of me.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So all the Marinians go back to their wall, back behind the wall, and Dany's left to be in the council chamber with her generals, lieutenants,
Counselors.
Council?
Yeah, exactly. Mostly, I guess, the commanders, the people who command men, right? So all the sellsword leaders.
Yeah, that's why I said
Yeah.
generals or I just didn't know what rank we would call them. Danny's like, we need to get one. I need to get this place because they killed too many kids, and that pisses me off. 2, we need the food. So how are we getting in? Give me the report on this place. Where's the weakness at?
No weaknesses.
Yeah, doesn't look good.
By land, well, he says by land, no weaknesses. Is what he says here.
Yep, and because they burned everything, we can't do the siege tower technique, so we're kind of fucked there. Like, we could try and dig under, but like we don't really have the food for how long that would take. Really, the only option is just send men at the walls. And Brown Ben's like, you see those like harpy mouths up there? I guess there's like mouths built into the walls. He's like, yeah, they just pour boiling oil out of that. Like, you're gonna get burned. Like, yeah. And then Dario jokes like, oh, we can send the Unsullied then because they don't feel pain. Like, that's just like a hot bath to them. And Grey Worm's like, not really, but we will go.
It's gonna hurt. That'll hurt pretty bad.
He's like, not really, but we'll go if you want us to. Like, fuck it.
Yeah, if you're too scared, Dario, we will go. We'll do it.
Well, I don't know if he's even like that. It's just like the Unsullied are like zombies.
You're gonna
That's
kill
what-
us.
that's what-
Yeah.
Grey Worm,
I think
yeah,
that's the
for
point
sure.
he's trying to make, right?
Yeah.
What Danny did say in the beginning, like, well, what about the river or the bay? Can we attack from there? She's only got 3 ships. It's not like she's rocking
Exactly.
a navy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Marine has a navy, right? It's like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
And it's only mentioned in passing later, but like after the whole Miro thing, when Jorah does come in, he had come back from like looking at that, and he says they're just as strong as the land walls and even higher. So, like, even if they did have a fleet, it probably wouldn't work.
No options here.
So then she's like, what if we try to starve him out? I mean, this is probably the youngest Danny's ever sounded, right? And this one thought is like, well, you can starve him out. They've got way more food. You're already starving.
Well, yeah, exactly. You just said that. E2. She's like, we need to get in there. They have so much food. And then she's like,
Yeah.
oh, we'll just wait. And then it's like, well, then you have no food afterwards. You'd have more people. Well, actually, you'd have less because a lot of yours would die.
I think she knows they're fucked.
Bad
she just
play.
is refusing to admit it to herself because I think mostly because of the kids, the 163 kids. She isn't going to let that go.
Well, and just her mission that she's currently on, too.
But like in a second here, and I'll jump a little bit ahead. I don't think it really matters. Jorah makes a great point. I think he's like, you came to Astapor to get an army, right? Like, we were on the way to Pentos from Karth. I convinced you, hey, there's good army here. We should go buy it. We did that. He's like, you didn't come here to start a war, but that's where we are now. Like, here we are, 4 chapters later, like, still in Slaver's Bay, still conquering cities. Like, this is not why we came here. Let's just get out and go. Right. And I think she would be a lot more susceptible to that if not for these kids, which is, I think, why she's just throwing out any, like you guys are saying, this is a really stupid suggestion. Like, how are you going to starve them? You don't have the food. And somebody even points out, we have 3 ships. Half their city is accessible by water. How are you going to make a blockade with 3 ships? So, like,
yeah, they'll get right through you.
Sense. Yeah.
So, back onto the food and water. They're already getting sick from drinking from the bay.
Good point, too. That water-wise,
because the poop is running, their poop's running down into the bay, at the river, wherever.
This might be a dumb question. Do rivers ever flow from oceans, like, inland? Rivers always lead into the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they say they shit. I showed the map earlier, right? They said that all the Myronese shit into the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, the people that Danny's with aren't drinking from their shitty water, right? Because they're on the coast.
Yeah, they
so
are.
They have salt water. They can't be Danny's people can't be drinking from the sea because that's salt water.
It's all. I don't know if that's true.
Like, we saw the map.
I saw the map, and I know what you're talking about, but the river, there's still a mouth of the river, which is part of the bay. Like, I don't know if the bay where they're at is, like, the ocean.
I'm just saying, because
right?
they're coming from the south,
Yeah,
you'd think they'd be drinking out of other streams and stuff that they're passing along the way. You'd have to go to Marine and then past it to get to the river that Marine's shitting in.
Take it up with George. I'll find where Jorah says they're drinking from. There's no food here. No fodder for our mules and horse. I do not like this river water either. Marine shit into the Shazgadan, but draw its drinking water from deep wells. Already we've had reports of sickness in camps, fever and brown leg, and 3 cases of the bloody flux. There will be more if we remain.
And maybe I don't know. Maybe they figured out a way to get water from way upriver or something. But yeah, that's what I thought. But that's why I was confused. So
well, upriver water would be clean.
That's also what I was thinking. Because even if until I put up the map myself, I thought Dany might have been camped on the north. So because of this line, I thought they were camped along the river, upriver.
I mean, just looking at your map and knowing how big this city is, like they're not transporting water even from upstream if they wanted to. It'd be too far for.
Again, you can't trust the maps. Like the map makes the city.
I'm just saying. Hold on. If the
map makes the city look like it's 200 miles long.
If the city is 2 times bigger than any city that they've seen yet, or twice as big as the last 2 combined, or whatever, bigger than the last 2 combined, they're not taking their buckets to the river and being like, okay, here's my. Like 1 by 1, so they each have clean water.
I mean, they could, right? Like think about even the biggest city, even King's Landing. It might take a day to walk around King's Landing, but that's feasible to get water.
Yeah, but you're burning the calories that you don't have.
Yeah, but you send like 2 guys with a wagon or something. I don't know. I don't think it really matters. We're spending too much time on it, but they have to be drinking from the river. Is all that matters. They have to be drinking from the river.
You're just being stupid. You're just being stupid. You're just being stupid. They're drinking from the bay, and there's shit in the bay too. Why couldn't there be shit in the bay?
I don't understand. They can't be drinking from the sea because that's salt water. Was my thought.
How do you know it's salt water?
That's just how that works, right?
How do you know this is salt water?
Well, at some point, the river water is mixing with the bay water, so...
Oh, I guess you're right. Bay might be fresh water, potentially, or brackish.
I don't know what it is. This is George's world. He can make it whatever he wants.
We're spending too much time on the water.
Moving on. You already mentioned this, Nels. Jorah goes like, why are we even here? Like, screw Marine.
Yeah, there's no value.
Who cares about Marine? Your dream is the 7 kingdoms, and you're going to take that with your dragons under fire, and let's get out of here.
But if we leave, my people will die on the march, is essentially her next thoughts.
Part of it, too, like, it's interesting, like, I know it's been a while, but, like, if you think back to, like, the first time that Dany went to Astapor when she first saw the slavers, she gets into a big fight with Jorah when they get back to the boat because, like, if you're so mad about it, just leave. Like, you don't have to buy these slaves because she's upset, like, how they train them and everything. And she's like, no, like, what they're doing is wrong. I have to do something, right? She kind of had that mindset that, like, I have to save these people because you showed me this injustice. Now I can't do nothing.
Yeah, and now that I know about it, I have to do something about it.
So it kind of feels like that's still her mentality, which again is a noble mentality, but it's like I also see where Jorah's coming from. Like, this is not our problem.
This isn't our fight. Yeah.
Yep.
He said like another good thing I think he says, like, you can't save all the slaves, which again, like, you can't save them all in the entire world. Like, where are we gonna go to the next slave city? There's hundreds of them, right? Like, these 3 just close together. I understand what we're doing, but to Dany, I think this one's personal, again, because of the kids. And I think she even admits it kind of to herself later on.
Blood Riders try to give her an out on Marine 2, saying that, basically they're defeated by hiding behind the walls. Like, any worthy people would come out and fight.
I kind of like the Dothraki mentality. Yeah, it's like, you're a pussy.
So
I don't care.
They don't want to fight, so you don't want to fight, exactly. You lost.
It's like if you're like, meet me out back of school after school. If that kid doesn't show up, you won the fight. You know what I mean?
Well,
yeah.
for
That's
sure.
how the Dothraki see it.
That's true, but that's a fact. And yeah, so she was like, I can't watch my people die again. I'm not going to make them march and watch them die. So, Brown Ben, boom. Great idea. Great
Brown
nickname
Ben
too, probably.
Well, again, we kind of hear his back.
I mean, screw the Plum.
Yeah,
that's his last name, but Brown Ben.
You making fun of the poop water, Jeff?
I was thinking because he was covered in shit when he got to...
Maybe.
Oh, maybe. I was thinking because he says that, like, when he tells his, like, ethnicity, he basically is just, like, a mix of everything. Right, but he has the Plum name because that is like a family from Westeros.
Yeah, I just thought it was because he was covered in poop. So he's like, "Yo, when I escaped, I went down through the sewers. Like, and there's bars there, but some of them are rusted out, and I was able to pop it through. And yeah, I'm not going up there. There's not any amount of money in the world, but that's where you could go."
He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty much a sure death wish, but it can be done."
He literally Shawshanked it.
Yeah.
Andy Dufresne. Yeah, he's like, I mean, I know it's not the best idea, but you asked for any idea, any way in, and here's your way in.
Exactly.
Right?
That's about the only way in, I would think, right? I mean...
Yeah, it seems to be.
You're not riding the dragon ever, which is what her next thought is. She's like, all right, I gotta think. Get the hell out. Let me think. And before they all leave, Viserion flies over to Brown Ben, kind of lands on him weird, and then hops off.
This is where we get the discussion of his background.
Yep. He claims that a drop of dragon's blood.
Yeah. A long time ago, there was a dragon princess that was with the Lord Plum, who had a 6-foot member.
Yeah, 6 foot cock.
Guy was stacked.
And Danny's like, you mean inches? And he's like, no, why would anybody talk about 6 inches? Which is like, which I think is like him being like humble brag, like 6 inches, that's nothing, right?
No, it's just like no one ever would tell the story if it was just 6 inches.
I know, but I think it's also a little humble brag. I think Danny even says like she blushes afterwards because like I think Brown Ben's insinuating that.
Well, yeah, she's laughing like a schoolgirl. She said.
Yeah, but I think he's insinuating that he's got a big one too. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like 6 inches. That's nothing. Yeah. Like,
so he bails. He has to go tend to his men, and this is where she thinks of if she could just take Drogon and ride his ass over the wall, and she would melt this golden pyramid down to. I don't know what she says, shards or...
Yeah, just burn it. Burn it all down. Yeah.
Just burn that shit down.
Yeah, she wouldn't be having this problem.
She's got 2 other dragons, though. That means 2 other riders.
Yeah, so I want to see what Kyle thought about this. She says this like thing about the dragons have 3 heads. A lot of times there's things that Danny like assumes that I don't know if I believe. Like another example, towards the end, she's like, there's still 2 more betrayals. One for money and one for love. Like the first one was for blood.
Yeah.
Like, do we know that the Mirama's door... Like, assuming that there are 3 betrayals, do we know that the Mirama's door one counts as like the one for blood? Like, could she be wrong about that?
Could it be love? I don't know.
It's like, well, I'm just thinking like, could she be wrong about this? Like, to me, it seems like she's assuming that 3 heads of the dragon means there will be 3 people riding these 3 dragons I have. I don't know if that's necessarily what that means or like is implying, but that's what seems to be what she thinks. And she seems to think that whoever I sleep with can ride a dragon, right? That's kind of like
immediately. Yeah, that's all it takes.
Like how she's thinking this works. She's like, because immediately she goes to Dario Naharis, which is weird. Again, like it's one of those things where the way she talks about him in this chapter, it almost seems like he's been a character for like a book and a half.
Yeah, I know, but he just showed up.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I literally looked in the notes to be like, has he been around for a few chapters? Like, okay, no, this is his second chapter.
Yeah, we didn't really learn anything about him either.
Yeah, what we know now is like Danny definitely has a big crush on him.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
good looking cat. Got a gold tooth, blue eyes, blue hair.
I don't think he would be my type. Like, he seems kind of like gold mustache.
What is your type?
Blue hair. Like, not a gold tooth. I don't know. Like white teeth.
White teeth. You like white teeth?
Yeah, like normal colored facial hair. I don't know.
All right, just Nelson Signal, if you're out there. He likes white teeth.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
send in a picture of your teeth to the Discord.
So she has a thing for Dario. She's been thinking about him a lot. He obviously has a thing for her.
Yeah, I mean, he's winking at her. He's stealing glances.
Like, if we remember back to last chapter, he was over the top. Like, oh, I confess my love. I killed these guys because my heart is yours. My sword is yours. Right? Yep. Like, all this shit. So
he's bringing her flowers every report, new flower.
Yeah, he says he's trying to teach her the land, but there's obviously like some romantic gesture in that, right?
Yeah. And she's been stealing gazes too. She's been looking at him.
But what would Jorah think, right?
Yeah. Yes, Jorah would not.
Jorah wouldn't
happy.
like it. Old man Bear would not like it.
It's funny because the way he writes Danny, I feel like it's relatable. If you think too much into any of her like thoughts, they're like, "Wow, that's stupid." But she even acknowledges them as stupid. She's like, "You know what? Jorah did say I could take 2 husbands. Like, why don't I just marry both of them and like be done with it?" But she's like, "You know what? That's stupid. Like, what am I even thinking about? I need to be thinking about the city right now."
That's probably like not too crazy.
I have stupid thoughts all the time, and I'm like, you know what? Why the fuck did I just think that?
You're the stupidest thinker that I know.
I relate to Danny a lot when she has stupid thoughts like that. Where for like a second it sounds like a great idea, and you're like, wait, what am I thinking?
Here we are, 202 episodes later.
201 episodes in. Nelson admits he's stupid. It wouldn't be the craziest thing if Danny showed up with 2 husbands. Like the first Aegon showed up with 2 wives, right?
That's true.
Like, when was that though?
Let's go. Back in the day. A little bit back in the day.
That wasn't like smooth. The Faith had problems with that back in the day, but. So if Danny does show up with 2 wives,
the Faith didn't matter when they came in with dragons.
My point is, if Danny shows up with 2 husbands, the Faith might not be cool with that.
And Drogon would melt the sept to the ground.
That's okay. It's not how Aegon did it, but
all right. She's like, "Hey, Missandei, let's go. Saddle me up. Grab Arston. We're hitting the trail.
I need to go think.
I need the wind on my back."
It is funny because like this is where you see that Danny's being like, she is a little girl still, right? She's like, okay, commanders, get out of here. I need to think about how I'm going to do this battle. And as soon as they're gone, she just starts like daydreaming about Dario. But she catches herself. She catches herself and she's like, you know what? Let's go get some fresh air. Let's go for a little ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I thought she was going to take the ride, and when she picked Arston, I was like, oh, she wants to hear more about her brother or something. She just wanted to talk Targaryen shit, and they don't even really talk.
I thought there was definitely going to be a little bit of that too, because every time basically Arson's been on page before, there's been a little bit of Rhaegar information, right? And I think obviously at the reveal, now it's clear why that we were getting that, right? So,
but
yeah. So they head out.
Marine mocks her as she goes away.
In her mind, yeah. Nothing, they don't do anything, but she's upset about not having the city taken down or having an idea. Yeah.
She comes up on the Unsullied camp. They're either half training or half bathing. Super clean cats. They like to keep it clean.
The sellswords, not so much.
The sellswords don't care. They're stinky. But pretty weird. I never even thought about it. Like cleaning with sand.
Like a bird.
I've heard of this. I don't know how
it makes
you
sense to me. It makes it like I'm sure like the coarseness would just like rub whatever off, right, of the sand. But then you're just sandy. Right? Like it just
the concept of a shower, right? Is you put soap on, soap reduces surface tension, which makes like small particles easier to fall off. So I think
but they don't even do they even have I guess
I will say I've looked up a little bit at how they bathed in like really ancient days, like Troy days. And the way they bathed was they would rub olive oil on their skin. I think olive oil kind of has a similar effect to soap, or would make the dirt easier to fall off.
Makes
and
sense.
Then they would scrape their skin with like really like not sharp rocks, but like straight edge rocks to just like get all the oil off.
Yeah. It's like, well, that's still like a thing that people do today as well.
I'm wondering if they oil their skin and they like roll in sand, right? And then that's how they get the sand. That's how they get the oil off.
I think they just take.
You might be totally right.
They don't have casts of olive oil.
They're going through olive fields. I mean, it's burned olive fields, but
yeah, no, that's not what they're doing, Nelson.
They're just rubbing sand on
just a dust bath. Yeah.
Also, Jeff, how do you get olive oil? You like crush olives?
You press.
You press olives. Come on.
I don't know.
You never. It's actually pretty cool seeing an olive press and just seeing how much oil is like how much. I'll send you a video.
Like, how do you get like? There's avocado oil, but if you just crush an avocado, you get
what do you think?
Mushed avocado. If you crush peanut oil,
there's got to be a way.
You get crushed peanuts. Like it doesn't just make juices, right? Or does it? I don't know.
There's juices and probably in everything.
Separates. Yeah,
I guess it separates.
If you press enough, you're gonna get whatever liquid's in it. So
can you press me into an oil?
Absolutely.
All right, moving on.
Can you milk me, Greg?
That's where I was getting at. Exactly.
So they're training her bathing. She looks at her ships. She renamed them stupid names into dragon names. The new names are Balerion, Meraxes, and Vhagar.
The interesting there is they're not only so these are the dragon names from Aegon and his two sisters when he took over. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. Balerion, Meraxes, Vhagar. I think I've assumed we've had a Dany chapter since, but maybe we haven't mentioned the ship name. Vhagar, Jeff, should sound familiar to you after House of the Dragon. This dragon is actually still alive 150 years after the conquest. It's the only one of these three that's still alive.
Isn't Meraxes too?
No, Meraxes is dead. Caraxes is one. Again, a lot of the names the dragon names are kind of similar, kind of like the normal people names. But the interesting thing, besides these were previous dragon names, the dragons were named after gods, like old Valyrian gods. So another religion that's probably dead, and we probably will never learn too much about it, but like
dragon religion,
what the people that had dragons used to worship. Yeah. So after the Unsullied and seeing the ships, they're into the freedman camp, which is not nearly as neat and orderly.
Well, yeah, she's going back to line, right? Like,
yep,
it makes sense.
Yeah, she's running around. People are kind of doing all kinds of things, right? They're roasting horse. They're chasing after her on the horse.
Well, yeah, everyone likes to touch her because apparently, like, her touching her is like brings you luck. It's like rubbing the bronze nose statue, right? It always brings you luck.
There's
different stuff like that. Exactly.
Feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dany is that. She's the walking statue.
People want to get blessed by her. They're like, you freed us. Now you can save us from this hunger. Please make it rain meatballs from the sky.
I think it's kind of cool. Like, it shows that Dany has a good heart, that she wants to go ride through and like see her people, but it's also dumb, right? I mean, in hindsight, it's super stupid. Like, you don't know any of these people. There's 80,000 people that like are starving.
Yeah, she thought she knew better. Exactly.
Like, what happened when Joffrey rode his horse through his starving city? There was a huge riot.
That was a little different, though. He's a
dung
prick.
thrown on him.
Again, he's a prick, but like from the people's point of view, they don't really care, right? What does Jorah said? Jorah says,
I don't think she's really like withholding from these people, though. Like, I don't think she's doing the same thing.
Joffrey was throwing feasts and stuff. You're right.
Belwas did just say, "Get me liver and onions after I kill." Like, bam, he had liver and onions.
That's true. They're eating. Yeah, they're not going hungry.
At some point, hungry people would turn.
Exactly. Yeah. I think this is maybe an intentional little parallel, though. And I agree with Kyle that Joffrey clearly was more like, he was literally shooting people who came to the gates begging for bread.
Antagonizing.
He was shooting them across and stuff. So
yeah.
it's not quite the same thing, but I think there is a little bit of that parallel here. Again, like the way it's described in like the summary, she's riding through, everyone's touching her, she's holding out her hands. But then like when the attack happens, it seems more like she's actually like talking to people like one-on-one. Like there's like a pregnant lady who's like, hey, can you pick the name for my baby or whatever? And then that's when Miro comes up and just pulls her off the horse. So Miro, last chapter, was the Titan's bastard. They kind of mentioned it a little bit in passing later. Last chapter when we saw him, he had a big red beard, big fiery hairball. Like he had a lot of hair. And he is completely shaved now and very sunburnt, right? Redhead people normally don't do well in the sun.
Did he actually have red hair or did he dye his hair red?
He had red hair last chapter.
He was touched by fire, like truly touched by fire.
I think so, yeah.
Kissed by fire. All right. Yeah, he grabs her, pulls her down, slices a freedman right in the throat, right? Or kills him.
Yeah, they're calling for help. And somebody, like, again, just, like, props to that dude. Some, like, normal, just freed slave average tries to come help Dany because she's my queen now. And he gets sliced for it. I don't think he dies. It says he goes to his knees. So I'm guessing he, like, got cut pretty bad, but, like, not dead. And but it does scare off most of the other people who were about to help. And Miro's like, who's next? This is when Arsene steps up and is like, I am. Which is, again, just another badass line. Just like when Dany calls her Belwas, got me a little fired up.
Yeah. Arsene's like, nah, I got next. Swap, flop, pop, pop, poo, pop, pop, hoo, bop. Stick. Stick and move. Bam, whop. Breaks his leg, slaps him in the face.
Beats the shit out of that dude with the stick, yeah.
It's like Rafiki in The Lion King against the hyenas.
Exactly, yeah.
Kyle never saw The Lion King.
It's been a long time, man. I'm sorry.
All right, don't worry. I'll send it to you.
I think the more important thing to note here, right? Again, it is a cool little fight. Miro is like a badass, right? It's like if Arsene was doing this to some slapdick on the street, it would still be cool that Arsene's an old man and just whipped out the stick and killed somebody with a stick. He's killing like an elite fighter that like Jorah knew of, right? Before they met him last chapter, Jorah had heard of this guy, right? Because he is the leader of this badass sellsword company. He has a reputation to him, right? Like it's not just anybody he kills.
Yeah, this isn't a nobody.
Exactly, right? Which again, I think they kind of try and hammer home later when Jorah's like, really, you, a squire, killed Miro of Bravos? Like he's trying to play that up to make it like this guy was a well-known guy.
And you're old as shit.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's kind of what we heard of him is Barrisone's is the GOAT.
Arsene beats the shit out of him. The freed people come and do the rest, right? Just pile on, stab, and doggy pile. And then Arsene apologized for letting Miro get too close. He was being too old and not on his toes. But again, that's why Dany picked him, because she didn't need protecting, right?
Yeah, she realized her mistake for sure.
Yep. So take me back to my tent. Jorah is there to give another report on the walls. He now has looked at the other the sea walls, right? Water walls.
Yep.
And she's like, "What the hell are you doing? Not telling me that Miro was alive."
Exactly.
Idiot.
And he's like, "I put a bounty out on his head. Like I didn't want to concern you. Like don't worry about it." And she's like, "Well then pay Arsene." Because that's who fulfilled the bounty.
Bounty's up.
It's already handled. Yep.
Kill confirmed.
For sure. And yeah, he's like, well, let's knight him.
Yeah, and this is when she's like, this is when Jorah like says contemptuously, he's like, really? A squire killed Miro? And a squire with a stick? And Dany's like, not a squire anymore. I want you to knight him. And they both say no at the same time. Yeah.
What? What the fuck? That's suspicious. That's weird.
This is one of the other great lines of the chapter. Jorah draws a sword. And he's like, the Titan's bastard, pretty much like he was a badass. Who are you really? And Arsene's reply, a better knight than you, sir.
A better knight than you.
Like, fuck you. I just love that line, too.
Yeah. There's another good one coming up, too. Well, so it's like, all right, who the hell are you? What's going on? Like, are you a liar? Like, tell me who you are. Give it to me straight.
I didn't lie, but I held a lot out. Like, you said you were a squire. I was one time.
I am. Yeah.
And people call me Arsene after I served Belwas, but all the years in between there, I was actually a knight of the Kingsguard. I don't know if he says that, but he's like, I was a knight of Westeros. And
well, he does get into the Kingsguard. He does tell them that eventually here, but yeah.
I think Jorah is the one who actually IDs
it comes
him,
out,
though, right?
Yeah.
But it comes out.
What truths have you withheld? At Karth, when you asked my name, oh no, you said that.
Jorah is like, IDs him. He's like, no wonder you look so usual. Miro shaved all his shit off, but you grew one.
Oh, you got a beard.
Yeah. And Dany's like, you know him? And he's like, I've seen him. but everyone knows who this cat is.
Barristan the Bold.
Yeah, this is a big name here, right? Like, pretty impressive person.
I'm not gonna get into it if you don't, Kyle. But do you know of like any of Barristan's like heroic feats, like what he's known for?
I mean, I probably do, but I don't remember them right now. No, it's been a long time since he's been around.
That's fine. I don't know what we've heard or not, so I won't get into it. But I might get into a little bit in the spoiler section, I guess.
Go for it.
But yeah, so Jorah has his sword out the whole time. He's got his sword to his neck even at some points here, and he's like, this guy served Robert, and he was the Lord Commander for Robert, who betrayed your house. And Barristan's like, okay, pot kettle, Raven calling the crow black, like, we're talking about betrayal now.
Yeah, he dumps all his bad news out on him on the floor here.
Look, again, like, this is something that's, I know I'm going to ask you, and if I was you, the answer would probably be like, why would I ever think about this? But like, did you ever think that the whole Jorah, like, we knew Jorah was informing on Dany early on. Like, this is probably something we haven't heard about since early book game, like, or Game of Thrones, mid Game of Thrones, like the first book.
Yeah, when Arya saw the two of them underground, right? That was
I think anytime Ned was in a conference room, I think there was 2 or 3 probably council meetings where Ned was, where they're like, oh, we've heard about the Targaryen, like the one where Robert is demanding that she be killed and Ned quits because of it. I'm sure and that they mentioned that info came from Jorah, that she was pregnant, right? So, yeah. And Dany's basically like, all right, shut up. Stop it. Tell me your story. Like, what's the deal here? And he's like, all right, like, I admit it. I took Robert's pardon, and I served with some fuck-ups. Served with the Kingslayer and people just as bad, everyone who was soiling the White Cloak. And he's like, you know what? I'd probably still be there too if it wasn't for the fuckhole Joffrey who kicked me out and then sent men to kill me the same day.
Well, I mean, that is like a lifetime appointment and everything.
Exactly. They broke precedent.
Right? Like, I mean, he was honored to be part of it. Like, that's how he felt. Yeah, like he says here, right? Like, he's like, I was doing my best to serve that position.
It's one of the things that, like, in hindsight, again, in the exact moment, you probably didn't pick up on it, Kyle, but like on the reread, like, after he kills Miro, he just saved Dany's life. And he's like, I'm so sorry I even let that happen. Like, I'm being so lax, right? And that's because, like,
he guarded the king before,
probably, like, early 20s, he got inducted to the King's Guard. He's an old man now. Like, 2/3 of his life, his job has been nothing but don't let people touch the person in charge. And he just let somebody pull the person in charge off a horse. Yeah. So, like, he's, like, kind of insulted by that. He even says, like, I shame myself. I'm old. I'm lax. Yeah, so I think, again, that's something in hindsight that's kind of cool.
I also like that she didn't realize that she took, like, probably the most decorated individual out with her, right? Like, she's like, I don't need to take any of my important people. I'll just take this guy.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't
actually
talk too much.
Like the best bodyguard.
Exactly. Yeah, he did only have a stick though. Like, give that guy a sword, but
he only wanted the stick.
He says, like, Joffrey sucks. I might still be there, but he let me go and sent men after me the same day. He's like, I knew then. It was like something was lifted off my eyes. A cow was lifted off my eyes. I knew I had to find my true king and die in his service. And Jorah's like, I'll grant that wish. And he's like, well, if I die a traitor's death, I'm not dying alone.
Yeah. There's another one here. Who is he? You know.
Well, he's like, the reason I didn't reveal myself is because there's a traitor in your midst. And I know it because I used to be on the council where the reports were getting dropped off. So, which is interesting, right? Because Jorah, I don't know if we know for sure, but because we don't have his perspective, and we don't have a perspective of anybody. I guess we have Tyrion's perspective on the council, but he's not even really on the council anymore. He was just the father of the hand now. Well, he's a master of coin. But, like, it doesn't seem like anybody's reporting on Dany. So it seems like Jorah stopped. But, like, Barristan was there. And the last he knew, we were getting reports, like, from Jorah, right?
Oh, when he got dismissed. You were definitely telling on her.
So as far as he knows, Jorah's still telling on her. So and that's kind of what Barristan says here. He's like, the reason I use this fake identity is because I thought if I told you who I was, that news would immediately get back to the Lannisters via Jorah. Is kind of what Barristan says here.
Yeah, for sure. He's like, I'm trying to run from these people, not tell them where I am.
Exactly. He doesn't outright say Jorah. He says, you were watched. Varys was always reporting on your brother pretty much ever since Robert took over. There's been reports Varys has had somebody looking at you guys. But ever since you got married to Khal Drogo, the informer has been, like, by your side. And that's when Dany's like, no, oh fuck, I put, like, pieces come together, light bulb goes off, it's been Jorah.
It was you said you loved me.
Tell him he's wrong, Jorah. Tell him, explain it away. Like, there has to be some reason.
Yeah, this is some kind of mistake. He's like, nope.
Nah, I was trying to go home, ho.
This is where she's thinking, like, there was the for blood, the for love, the for gold.
For gold.
She's like, was this for gold? Were you doing it for gold? Because again, she's like prophecy in the head. Were you doing it for gold? Were you doing it for gold? He's like, I just wanted to go home.
Would you say that could be construed as for love, like you love your home. Like
that's how I could see it. Yeah, like it wouldn't be gold, but maybe love. That's the thing about prophecy, right? Kyle said it last time. Like, you can see it so many ways.
You could definitely twist it to fit how you want here for sure. So
even like I was kind of implying earlier, Danny's assuming that the four, I forget what the first betrayal was, but say it was for blood, right? And she's assuming that's Miriam's door. Could this be like Jorah betraying her to get back to his own blood? He wants to be back with the Mormont family, right? Legally, the only way he could go back to Westeros today and just not use his real name, right? Pretend to be Fred from Flea Bottom or whatever.
Again, he ain't got a license with his ID on it.
But if he wants to go back to his blood and be legally allowed back in, then he would have to like that. So I could see it going for blood too. So it's one of the things where just because Danny thinks that one's already checked off, I don't know if we should assume she's right.
Yeah, she might have prematurely ruled that out. Fair enough.
But yeah, she's getting pissed off. The dragons are getting restless. She tells them to go. They're like, where do you want us to go? And I think a good line here, she's like, go to hell to serve Robert.
Robert's there. You'll find someone else to serve.
Yeah, and then she thinks about some shit and she's like, you know what? I know where you should go. She doesn't say it, but that's what we asked Kyle about. Where are they going?
We know where they're going.
Where are they going, Kyle?
Up the sewers. Like, I found the perfect candidates to do this mission that nobody should have to do because I couldn't afford it before.
I think George does like a cool thing where on that like last page he even sneaks in another sewer mention. He's like, your bullshit smells as bad as Brown Ben must have after that sewers. Anyway, where am I going to send you? I don't know if it's that, but it's like he throws it in like a paragraph before.
What does roast liar smell like?
Yeah, when I'm gonna have my dragons burn you. Yeah, so I think he's trying to get it on your mind.
Well, yeah, obviously, I thought that was pretty obvious. I don't feel super smart for getting that one right.
No, it's a good one. But you get credit for everything. But yeah, I mean, we both said it already. Dope chapter.
All right, what's next?
I don't know, man. I think they're gonna get inside and try and open the gates, right? I mean, that's really the answer here. Is they need to be able to get in.
All right, well, let's say bye to Kyle.
All right, we'll see Kyle in the next one for Tyrion. It's got to be a high number. I haven't looked.
Tyrion 10? Tyrion 9?
Tyrion 7. Not that many.
Yeah, I was way off.
All right.
We'll see Kyle in the next one for Tyrion 7. See the rest of you guys in the sports section.
Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. Thanks for hanging out with us.
See you on the next one for Tyrion 7. Now, on to the spoiler section of Danny 5. Jeff, what we got?
All right, one big one coming in hot right after Strong Belwas leaves the battlefield. Brown Ben Plum throws him a plum and says, "Here is a sweet fruit for a sweet fight."
Sweet. Sweet.
Back-to-back sweets. Is that a double negative? Does that throw two sweets makes a sour, so we don't have to worry about it? Or was this fake? Is this a whole deal saying that the whole fight for Marine was sweet? We shouldn't have been here. Jorah was right.
Well, I mean,
plums just aren't very good.
Well, do you know anything about Brown Ben in the future? What happens next?
Doesn't he end up with Tyrion at some point on the outs? Is he on the outside fighting with the Marine soon?
Well, yes, exactly. He's
attacking Danny. Yeah.
He betrays Danny. Danny takes Marine. He's on her side for all that. At some point during that, he betrays Danny. Then Tyrion comes into his service. And I think some of this is in the Winds of Winter sample chapters, but it seems like Tyrion's goal is to try and get Brown Ben to switch back. So you're right. Right now, he's outside with Tyrion. There's like 12 different sellsword companies about to attack Danny. Well, Danny's not there. They're about to attack Barristan.
Yeah, she's in the Dothraki Sea, right?
Exactly. So the war is happening. The Winds of Winter chapters are Barristan charging out of the gates of Marine and Tyrion like charging with Brown Ben's company. Mm-hmm. But I think the implication is that Brown Ben is about to switch sides and start helping.
But the implication?
We don't know. We know Tyrion was trying to get that to happen.
But we don't know implication.
It's the implication. Exactly. I know what you're saying.
That's I mean I can look through. That's really all I could think of.
The other little spoiler I had related to Brown Ben was, I think this is just an interesting fact. I think we'll learn a little bit more about this. We'll hear a little bit about this like one or two more times, but I think the full story is actually in The World of Ice and Fire, the history book. Brown Ben's ancestor who married a Targaryen. This guy's name was Ossifer Plum.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
So let me tell you a story about Ossifer Plum. He married Aegon III's daughter.
Okay.
And on their wedding night, he was old. Like when they got married, he was really old. Mm-hmm. The story goes that he died at the sight of her naked. Like he had a heart attack and died at the sight of her naked. But he was like across the room from her. But then she has a baby about 9 months later. Oh. So when he says his cock is 6 feet long, it's a joke. That like he died.
He impregnated her across the room.
He clearly didn't impregnate her, and it's probably not actually a plum, right? She probably just had sex with some other dude like a week later or whatever. And because no one really knows what happened. Again, it's one of the things where no one really knows, right? They say he had a heart attack at the sight of her, but like who knows? Maybe they were in the middle of fucking when he died. Yeah, that literally happens to somebody that Sansa talks to next book, I think, or maybe in Dance.
Oh, really? In the Vale.
What's her name? Miranda Royce. She's the girl. She comes up to when they have to leave the Eyrie because it's getting too cold. Miranda Royce goes up to meet Sansa, and on the way down, she's like, "My last husband like died inside me," or something like that. I think.
Whoa.
So, I guess the idea is that could have happened with Ossifer Plum, and maybe the baby actually is a plum. But I think this is actually like it's a funny story, but it's interesting to the implication, right? What Brown Ben is claiming here is I have a little bit of Targaryen blood way back in my line because my dad married a Targaryen. The child that she had became the next plum. He was it was according to the record books, he was
Their
a plum.
family's a lie. That whole family's a lie.
He was the next Lord Plum.
Yeah.
Their son. But so the whole thing is like if they actually did have sex, then okay, Brown Ben might have actually come from this line.
Brown Ben can marry Dany.
If they didn't have sex, then this kid, I was thinking that the implication was that Brown Ben had no Targaryen blood, but the implication doesn't matter. Like the Targaryen blood is still there. It's just that the father who would have been cut out, right? You know what I'm saying? Like say the guy that Brown Ben, the guy who was named Plum, who died, didn't actually. Yeah. That's why the whole joke 6 foot long cock, because he did it from across the room. And it was just some other dude a week later.
But it would still have Targaryen mom. It has Targaryen mom.
Exactly. Targaryen mom. And then the name is still Plum. Right? So that Targaryen blood still continues in the Plum line.
We don't even need Dany.
We don't even need whoever that Plum was. That line got ended because he didn't pass on his, you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. The Targaryen does. So that's interesting. Either way, I was thinking that the implication was that Plum doesn't actually have dragon blood. But it doesn't matter if the dad lived or not. It matters that the mom was a Targaryen and the son was named Plum. So, yeah. That's pretty cool.
You want to know a kind of something I've been thinking of? And maybe I'm just like kind of thinking show stuff. And like Daenerys is kind of caught up on the fact that she needs 2 riders.
Yeah. I mean, it's also one of the things that she thinks that's what that means. And I was kind of insinuating this to Kyle. To me, that doesn't mean more like I have to find people who can ride my dragons. Because she thinks that it works. Again, what it seems to think that like, oh, if I sleep with someone, if I bring them into my bed, they become a dragon rider.
Yeah.
Because she thinks like, oh, if I sleep with Dario, he can be a dragon rider. If I sleep with Dario and Jorah, then it's just done. And I have all 3. She doesn't straight up say that, but it seems like that's what she's thinking.
It doesn't even seem like that. And I'm just thinking House of Dragons.
Let me ask you, if I said the dragon has 3 heads, what does that mean to you? Like, if I ask you that as a question, who are the 3 heads of the dragon? What are you thinking? What's your first thought? Is it who's going to ride dragons? Is that really the first thought? To me, there's a thought that like comes right before that.
There's three people kind of claiming to be head Targaryen.
Exactly, Targaryen. Can anyone ride a dragon? Like Dany thinks that anyone can ride a dragon. I just got to choose these people or sleep with them, and then to me that the question: who are the 3 heads of the dragon? Who are the last 3 Targaryens? Right, Jon Snow.
We got Fagon,
is it Tyrion?
Jon Snow, and
exactly. Is it Tyrion? Is it Fagon? Is it Jaime or Cersei? Right, any one of these people.
If it's Tyrion, I'm going to stop reading the book.
You know what I'm saying? Like those are like I think the most likely. Is any of the 3 Lannister children Aegon, Fagon, or Jon are like the potential other heads?
You know
of the
who
dragon.
the third is, and you would never even think about it. That has Targaryen blood.
Brown Ben Plum.
Stannis Baratheon.
Stannis Baratheon. That's true. That's true too. I mean, even Shireen, if she doesn't get burned.
Nah, she gone. She gone for Jon. We need Jon back.
Along those lines, any of Robert's bastards, Maya Stone, Gendry, Edric Storm.
It's just gonna be Dany with Edric Storm and
Dude,
Maya.
what if Maya Stone? Dude, that would be. If it was Fagon and Maya Stone
and Gendry. Gendry doesn't need the dragon. He says.
Here's why Winds of Winter's taking so long. George saw season 8. He's like, you know what? They hated this. Here's what we need to do. Completely scrap it. Who could be? And it used to be Jon and Tyrion were the 3 heads of the dragon. He threw that out. He's like, we need to just pull 2 out of the bucket. And he's thinking the same thing you. Who has a drop of Targaryen blood? And he pulls Maya Stone, and maybe he makes Fagon real. Fagon's not fake anymore. Now he's actually real. That would
Isn't Fagon getting burned to a crisp right now, or is that Martell?
No, Fagon just took over Storm's End. Martell. Yeah, it's Quentin Martell.
Quentin.
He got burned.
Fagon bailed on Dany and went to go take over Storm's End.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I think Tyrion like kind of persuaded it. He's like, if you go to her, you basically say like, hey, I need your help. You're the one with dragons. If you start doing shit in Westeros first, then she'll come to you and be like, hey, let's join up as the last 2 Targaryens. I think it was kind of Tyrion's advice to him. But then Tyrion gets kidnapped by Jorah? Yeah, by Jorah. So, last thing I had, I used to think this was a show only thing, but I think because I've recently re-listened to Feast and I'm starting my re-listen on Dance. I'm pretty sure that Tyrion actually does say at some point in the books, and maybe he's already said it and we've covered it in the podcast, that he was given command of the sewers. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Books. Was this in the books?
Yes, it was in the books.
I think it's in the books too, but I know it's in the show, and that's tainting me a little bit. But I agree. I think it is.
I feel like when he talks about his dad gave him a stupid ass job in King's Landing just to like get him away, like to like, all right, go do this, like get away from me.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, I know. I'm thinking of the show line too. It's like, and he gave me the shittiest task ever. But I feel like just recently he brought it up.
I think so too, and I think he said, "And the sewers never run cleaner." Like when he gave me that task, he gave it to me to mock me, but we never had cleaner sewers. Like our shit was working great when I was in charge of that shit. So like my question just is like based on where we saw the show go, like Tyrion obviously had something to do with when Dany gets to Westeros planning the attack on Castle Rock. I don't even actually remember in the show. Did that involve the sewers?
Yeah, it absolutely. That's the only mention of the sewers that we get. The Unsullied.
Oh, okay, in the show. I think George has promised that we'll see Castle Rock in the books. So I think it's likely
that's the only thing we saw of Castle Rock in the show. And I can remember Tyrion's talking like, oh man, they were ready for us, right? And they shot down all of our ships and but they forgot that I knew.
No, like it was a hard-fought battle. We finally took over the castle, and we won it at the end of the day. But we found out they were already gone, and they took over High Garden or whatever.
Well, I think he like even jokes like, "Oh, they're gonna be ready and shoot us down," but they forgot that I built the sewer. So when we slipped the Unsullied through, we kill them. And
I thought that was part of it too.
Oh shit! Now no one's there. Whatever. But
yeah, that was the last thing I had. Just because I think that'll probably come up again. Like I think, like I guess to you, do you think that'll come up in the books? Like they will take Castle Rock?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of to use it twice is kind of stupid.
To use the exact same thing twice, but if there's like I don't know, if it incorporated somehow,
it just becomes their stick is that they go through the sewer to get into the castle. I don't know. I think it's stupid.
I guess you're right, but like I don't know why else make Tyrion like I don't know. I guess you're right. It doesn't have to be, but it seems like there's like it could be a potential setup being set up there, but who knows? Any other?
Tell me where. You're just gonna ask like, what's the show different? One is Jorah, right? He doesn't get the grayscale. Jon Con does.
Yes.
What? Yep. Jorah gets banished. Does he leave? Like, what is Jorah's? Where's Jorah at the end of?
Well, because in the books this doesn't happen, right? In the books, Barristan was found out as Barristan right away. At this point, I think Grey Worm is the one that goes to the sewers, and he convinces Marine. He like gives Marine all the weapons and shit, right? Like. Don't you remember that scene where he like shows up with a bunch of Unsullied?
Yeah. He all the slaves. He arms the slaves and
yeah. So I think in the show that's all Grey Worm. Did I say Grey Wind? I think it's Grey Worm.
I think Jorah does the Battle of Yunkai, I think, and he comes back into the tent.
Oh, Barristan in the show, Barristan wasn't on the council. That's right. In the show, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard wasn't on the council. Like he wasn't actually in any of those scenes, so he didn't know about Jorah. But once Dany takes over Marine, a little bird shows up and gives Barristan a note And Barristan looks at
that
it.
That was signed Robert, and it was
Exactly.
to Jorah, which was a trip home. Tell me in the book, where is Jorah? Is he banished from Dany?
He's with Tyrion. He kidnaps Tyrion.
Why? Because he was banished.
I was just saying this. Tyrion rides down the boat on the river with Griff and Fagon. And he tells Fagon, don't go to Dany like you were planning to. If you go to Dany, you're the beggar. You're going to be like, hey, you have dragons, I need you. If you go to Westeros first and start making waves there, get a couple castles, then she'll come to you and be like, hey, let's join up. Right? At that point, you're the one that, like, she's coming to you, you're not going to her. Right? So that was Tyrion's plan. But then they stop off. They just happen to stop off somewhere, and Tyrion goes to a brothel, and Jorah's like, you know what? You're mine. The grayscale thing had just already happened. It had happened previously with Griff on the boat. He still gets kidnapped by Jorah. They get got by slavers. They still go together. They get sold into a grotesquerie, right? They get like captured by the slaves. Grotesque people
with the pig girl.
Exactly. And at the very end of Dance, they escape and get into Brown Ben's service. They sign with Brown Ben. Basically, I think Tyrion pretty much says, hey, sign up with me. We're going to switch over to Dany's side. And then I'm going to give you, like, I'll promise you, like, a lot of all the gold in Castle Rock. I think he honestly says all the gold in Castle Rock when we get, like, because that's the plan. You're going to sign up for the long haul now. You take in me and Jorah. You're going to switch sides. Once we take Westeros, then you become very, very wealthy. And I think Brown Ben, at least it let them sign on. I don't know if he had accepted everything else, but he's like, you know what? It can't hurt to let you join the company for now, and I'll sleep on it for a couple days or whatever. Right? And then I think some of the Winds of Winter chapters are Tyrion, like, playing Syvass and, like, drinking and chatting it up with Brown Ben, like, trying to convince him a little bit more. And I don't know if we ever fully see, but I think the last there's 2 Winds of Winter Tyrion chapters, and I think the second one is him, like, prepping for battle, like, getting the shit on.
Okay, can you answer when does Jorah get banished? What happens?
I think as soon as this is done, like, Dany's had time to think about it, and she's like, you know what? It, like, what Barristan
actually
did makes
get
sense,
the fuck out of here.
But Jorah, fuck you. Like, yeah, you can't be here anymore.
Interesting.
That's all I had. We don't gotta linger. We had a few long ones, so yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one for Tyrion 7. I don't even know what it's about. I haven't done it yet, so
come on, you know what it's about.
Big
what was
surprise
the last
for everybody.
one about? It's got to be wedding planning.
It might even be wedding. It's very short. Holy moly!
Go to the last page. It's the last line.
Shay snatched her dress down off the dragon's tooth and slipped it over her head. I'll go up first. Brother will want me. It's him being with Shay right before they go up for the breakfast of the wedding. So it's the day before the wedding.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
Then it's Sansa. Then the next chapter is Sansa, which would be wedding.
Which is like Lady Olenna in her hair.
Then it's Tyrion again.
Bam. Then it's choking.
Then it's Tyrion again.
Bam. Bam, 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 bam. Kyle's got to go to Jamaica.
All right. Kyle will be in Jamaica, yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, it's kind of good that we didn't do like the first Tyrion chapter and then he's gone for 2 weeks. So yeah, that'll be when we get back.
All right.
So yeah, next Tyrion chapter. We'll see you guys in the next Tyrion chapter for, I think, the beginning of the Purple Wedding.
Uh-oh.
See you guys then. Bye-bye.
Bye.